Hello, I'm Diana Kanecki, founder of Kanecki Art and also founder of Kanecki Associates and DKA Strategic Planning. Today I'd like to talk about and present a video of the Evanston Progressive rather than a tweeted version. And today's topics are what everyone has already heard about, the massive 32% tax cut that's going to be coming. Well, the thing is, it was needed, but the bad thing is everyone in Illinois is going to be facing the same budget that people who live in Sweden face, except you're not going to get the bang for the buck. You're still gonna have to pay almost 65% of your income in taxes, and you're not gonna get the quality of life nor the bang for the buck that people get in Sweden. There are ways to change that, though. Part of it is the issue with the south or west side is not necessarily caused by the people who live there. A big issue of it is caused by absentee owners, absentee landlords, and others who actually probably live north of Howard Street in the quote North Shore, and like what happened in Milwaukee in '67 when there was a mayor who was still trying to get away with certain types of mismanagement or do a harsh back to the past things and do a regression from what Mayor Zeiler did, who was an American socialist. Um, just to digress, the reason why I supported Bernie Sanders was because Bernie Sanders is an American first, and he is an American socialist, which means that he supports the Constitution as well as the Declaration of Independence. He is not a socialist who is actually a communist that calls themselves a socialist, because I still don't support communism in any form whatsoever, because everyone has a right to owning personal property. Everyone has a right to reap what they sow from what they invent and what they make. And everyone has a right to freedom of press as well as the constitutional freedoms that we enjoy in the United States and human rights freedoms. Going back to the 32% tax rate. Well, what that's going to mean is for those who pay 20% sales tax in suburban Cook County to buy stuff, it's going to be about approximately 27%. And then also considering that maybe the property tax is about 5 to 10% of your assessed value. Again, that's going to be 13%. So we take 27 plus 13 is 40. And most people who are working have an income that fall between the 25 or 35% bracket. So you're going to pay 65 to 75%. Welcome to the 1%, and you're not going to get the benefits. You're going to experience exactly what a lot of us in Wisconsin experienced during the radical years of the 70s when the flag of the hammer and sickle flew over Mass and still does. My parents and I paid our fair share, and we paid that even though we were made part of the 1% too. But the problem is, though, again, with the south and west side and the absentee landlords that are suspected to live north of Howard Street in suburban Cook. Since the city hasn't shown leadership, some people think, regarding this problem, if it does come to federal troops or state National Guard troops coming into Chicago, you should basically go to all three areas, and the main thing is the properties or the people where those properties are, they have the most trouble. Find out who owns them, and also find a way basically to do like what's done with banks. When a bank is not managed properly, it's put in receivership. Another bank takes over. The former management board is kicked out. So that's what's going to happen because right now, most people in Illinois, if they're working and they're living in the suburban county, or even in different parts of Chicago, you're going to end up paying a 65 to 75% of your income in taxes. And compared to what it would have been as 20, 30, would have been 55 to 65. So you're gonna lose you're gonna lose that 20%, and you're gonna have to make up somewhere. And if you can get a bonus or get a raise, that's more power to you. But it's now coming time that basically there has to be a cleaning of house, even what that means with the machines. That means also maybe it's time to elect a mayor that's not just a Democrat, someone who is a moderate progressive. Quote the enemy. Some people say the GOP, but a moderate GOP, which holds progressive values, like Wisconsin used to, of the first state to pass worker compensation, first state to guarantee free education, free college, and complete access to educational resources as well. The thing is, when an organization becomes so dogmatic that basically problems come, it's the same thing like what Kuhn's wrote in the Nature of Scientific Revolution. When something becomes so dogmatic, half measures no longer work. You're going to have to do the change. It may not be easy. The thing is, people are going to sort of put big headlights ahead, saying, "Oh, look, 500 miles down the road, we're going to see this." The way you solve it is you're going to have to do it the same way one person rode across the United States in the first car, was basically the headlight theory. You see this far, and then once you get this far, you go to the headlights and you see this far, and then you go again. But you have a compass. You have a moral and faith-based compass to keep things going. But what I mean by faith is I don't mean hypocritical faith that basically has an agenda that basically is going to go after people. If someone believes in faith, they love everybody and they don't want to hurt anyone. And also that hurt means that also means not forcing people to hide who they are in terms of their identity, or denying certain rights of them because of their identity. What this is going to mean for some of the 60, 70-year-olds in the North Shore who were in their 30s or 20s in 1968. 1968 is over. We don't go to violence and bombings anymore. That's part of the reason my family, we were old Democrats as well as moderate Republicans, but that's why we walked away from the Republican Party, or as Reagan said, the Democratic Party left us, is because of what happened in '69 in Madison. We don't believe that doing a social card involves what they did there regarding the building and also the person who died because of it, who was an innocent. So that's why in the '70s I was taught by former Governor Dreyfus, who is a family friend of mine, that I can still do social good as a moderate Republican without doing violence and without destroying property. And that's what I've done throughout all of my life. And the thing is, in Illinois now, you are going to have to do this. I still consider myself an Evanstonian in a way, because I did stay in Evanston for a while, and I did meet a lot of great people down there, and am planning to come back and visit once my health is better for me to travel. Maybe this month, hopefully. I'm going to try it and see. It's just it took a while for my health to recover since what happened in late January, but it's getting there. On the second point is I like to talk about creativity and also spirit. For example, the song what I heard when I was shopping this morning was "Bye Bye American Pie" from Don McLean. It's one of my favorite songs. I actually bought the album when it was on was on record. One time I was in Barnes and Noble and I said to a friend and I said, well, oh, it's nice you're carrying vinyl. And a friend of mine said, Diana, you and I are both the same age. Say records, say records. And so I said records. And the reason why I like about that song is basically it does talk about what relates to the 32% tax increase, as well as what relates to the country and what we're facing now. We did face a situation again where everyone was put in one place, and some people felt they didn't have time to start again, and that was the reason for the voter revolt that occurred in November. And the thing is, if current trends hold, there will be another voter revolt in 2018, and also President Trump will have a second term because I still haven't seen what needs to be done to make the change. It's like in a way to think about this is it's like a baby bird when the baby bird is going up, the mother can sort of tell when the baby bird is ready to take its first flight. It that's by its actions, by how it flaps its wings, whether it actually has the maturity and the psychology to take its first flight. And the problem is that's what's happened with both political parties. That they're going to have to start anew. They're going to have to get back to actually working for the people and working better. But the thing is, President Trump needed to be in office because the issue is the candidates that were running, as well as the vice presidential candidates, were of the same country club, same social club, and it would have been worse. It would have been basically a government run by K Street. And although it's not perfect, and there's some eggs that are broken to make the omelet, and some eggshells in the omelet, people needed to see this, and also this was needed to get changed. And sometimes you need someone who's going to come in and who's not going to be nice. They're going to be disruptive. Creative people are disruptive. And just to give you an example, Steve Jobs is famous for reading this poem that I just recently found out that's written by Jack Kerouac. To those who, Jack Kerouac was the first writer in the 50s to encourage people to break out of conformity, explore, try different things. And also in an episode of Quantum Leap, there was an episode devoted to Jack Kerouac where at one point someone he had a moment where he said, well, he was getting pushed back, and it's like, well, maybe I should stop because I'm getting pushed back. And the person said, no, you need to do this because you don't realize what a future you're going to help make for that's better. And even the person who was trying to convince him, he was getting discouraged because his mentor had to come. Well, he said, don't you realize that because of what Jack Kerouac did, the sexual revolution, breaking out conformity, women's rights, civil rights, other things came from it that wouldn't have existed had not Jack Kerouac started to write. So here's my reading of Jack Kerouac's poem, written by Steve Jobs, who, when he read it in '97, my dad was alive, and this was when we knew basically that the computer revolution ideals was still alive at Apple, and I still hope so now. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round heads and the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They are not fond of rules. No, we are not. They have no respect for the status quo. No, we don't respect the status quo because they're obstructionist. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. The only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And that is true. If someone is just going to say, "Well, okay, I'm afraid to change because if I don't, I'm gonna lose this, and this." Okay, that's fine. That's up to you. But what's really going to happen though is the more someone does that, eventually the screws are going to get pushed tighter and tighter, and eventually, the one point, if someone doesn't express their identity or the crazy one attitude, eventually they'll become either a backstabber or push or known as pushing someone under the bus or off the cliff because they become a collaborator. What I'm what I'm saying is I'm not saying that one should disagree like the way I mentioned previously regarding some of the 60s radicals about destroying things and also what happened with people who were innocent who were killed. And that no, what I'm saying is basically there are ways to do it by the power of the pen, by expressing your ideas through YouTube, by expressing ideas through Twitter, social media, even just talking with friends at breakfast. There are ways to do this. But the thing is, in Evanston, what I do like about Evanston is that it is a creative community. Is that there are a lot of creative people. However, one thing I like to share that I haven't shared previously. When I first came to Evanston, I did feel constrained because I felt that basically that I really couldn't dress fully as the way I wished to dress compared to when I lived in Kenosha or when I was in Florida or in Phoenix. And part of the reason why I started the Evanston Progressive was that I did feel that there was too much of a conformity where, well, okay, you're part of our group if you completely are our version of the Democratic Party, and you don't question, you keep your mouth shut, you carry our signs. No, that's not a free society. You have a right to question. You have a right to look at alternatives. You have a right to do other things. I mean, if I was in a state where I had to register as a political party, actually morally, ethically, and faith-wise, I would have to register as an independent um, because I do believe in certain faith-based policies, but also I'm liberal socially. And the one problem I have is when a party tells me that I should vote for their candidate or I'm a deplorable. No, the United States does not have anyone who's deplorable, untouchable, or miserable, as in Les Miserables. And we should all know that, and we should have called that person to the floor and that party to issue a retraction and a correction on that. Although some people may act as jerks, loudmouths, and other things, okay, but the thing is, if it comes to where someone is hurt, then the proper response is a legal response. They're still citizens. But it is a legal response. It is not that they've become that they like we're a banana republic that at a moment's notice you become a non-citizen or a non-person, and that's part of the reason why the voter revolt occurred. Um, and to the one person who did run the Democratic Party, I do appreciate what her and her husband have done throughout the years, but I still have some issues. And partially it's due to faith, and also it's partially due to relationship conduct as well. is conduct in the Oval Office, in respect for the Oval Office, is not a Motel 6. However, what I do feel though is I'm still willing to listen to all sides. However, I do think the Democratic Party needs to pick people who are at least who are 55, who are around 55 as I am, or and also those who are 67 who have become too comfortable with power, too comfortable with privilege. It's time for them to go leave the organization and not take a day-to-day role because many of us who are the late baby boomers as well as millennials, um, we have issues that they didn't have to go through. They're not acknowledging. For example, there are many friends of mine who are in their 20s. When they graduate, they're going to have a massive college debt. Like one friend is going to one university, a good liberal arts college. It's a religious college as well, but they're going to have a $200,000 debt, which is luckily paid for mostly by grants. But other people like going to Marquette and some going to Loyola, they're going to have at least $100,000 debt for just an undergraduate degree. Think about that, $100,000. Now, when I graduated in pre-med, I didn't have any college debt, and also my tuition at that time was $900. Let's see, $900 a semester, as the state paid 90% of it since I'm a resident, and and did so for many others. And the books were about 600 for 5 courses, so about $120 a book versus about 250. And I can understand why professors are allowing students to use previous versions of books that they can buy from Amazon, Chegg, and others, because it is excessive. But this goes back to what happened with the big shock. Well, not really the big shock. I knew something had to come because if it hadn't, emergency powers would have been declared in Illinois by now. But with the passing of the 32% budget increase, so it had to be done. And the thing to do is not to bemoan it. And the thing is, what I call upon is it's going to come upon the community, especially the community of Evanston, because we provide the leadership for the state of Illinois as well as Wisconsin provides leadership for the country. What are we going to do now that this is passed? Well, this is where the Evanston Roundtable is really going to have to be a roundtable. They're going to have to talk with them. I'll be glad to talk with members of the Evanston Roundtable. The mayor and the city manager council is going to have to talk with people, not just those in the $500,000 to $2 million condos. They're going to have to talk to people who live along Bus Route 93 on the west side of Evanston, and that those who take the bus more than they take the L and the train, because basically they're the working poor. They're the working poor, and some of them are, and they live on the side of Evanston that isn't glorious. I've taken bus 93 many times down to Howard Street and to walk to Jewel and that. So by St. Louis Avenue, they're going to have to do the same thing. They're going to have to take that bus 93 and talk with people, and they'll find out that many of those people are nice people. When I first took it, I was taken. The bus was crowded. One person could see I had trouble standing, and they offered the seat, and which I'm glad they did because I do have issues standing for a while, and I mean I saw a wonderful group of people, but the thing is, as Evanstonians and even Illinoisans and Wisconsinites, all of us are going to have to unify and talk with each other. We're going to have to drop the labels, drop the class distinction. We're going to have to realize we're all Americans, as the way other people in the world realize we're all Americans. And to finally end this, is the best way to think about this is that came during the Revolutionary War. Either we hang together in solving our problems, or we hang separately in the failures to solve our problems. Well, let me know what you think. I'm on Twitter at Diana18, and I prefer to receive comments by Twitter. Thanks again.